On these full five-a-side pitches, on these favela streets, if we're on the high rise.
Can you imagine, bro? Can you imagine?
Do you know what it is? It reminds me of when, have you seen that bit in The Office where Steve Carell meets Ricky Gervais and they meet each other in the lift? It feels like that. We're doing our own little five-a-side 1-versus-1. Let's get straight into this one as well. We're going from back to front, but we're going to start off with a wild card as well. So like I said, the easiest thing we could do is pick all Brazilians and all Argentinians, but I know your football knowledge is pretty good, and I like to test my football knowledge because I think I'm pretty good at it.
Sure.
Fire away, Daniyal. Talk to us.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with a goalkeeper here, and I'm not going to change any of my 4 that I've chosen.
Okay.
Because when you're talking about South American goalkeepers, and you're talking about streets we'll never forget, it doesn't get more streets we'll never forget than the big man Dida. The Brazilian wall, not even just for his exploits in the national team, but it's more for his time at Milan. Like, he was one of those true larger-than-life goalkeepers, and not many goalkeepers can say that they went to Celtic Park, got tapped on the shoulder by a fan, tried to chase him, and then when they realized he wasn't going to catch him, dropped to the floor as if they'd been shot. So I think for that alone, Dida deserves it. Obviously, a big Champions League winner as well. And for me, growing up, one of the great goalkeeping figures of my generation. So I'm getting Dida in there. I did think about Julio Cesar. I did think about him. I did think about Muslera, the Uruguayan, who I always thought seemed to have an insane World Cup. And I always felt like he was playing for clubs that were beneath him because of the way he performed at World Cups. I thought it was only a matter of time before he went to a big team. He always seemed to go. He's at Galatasaray now.
Shout out Galatasaray and my friends in North London.
But for me, it has to be Dida. I'm going for Dida in between the sticks.
You know what? I think I'll join you from starting back to front. I think it's only fair game because then we can see who we lead up to in our attack. I'm going to go for someone who I think probably doesn't get the hype he deserves because of how bad his career kind of went after this move. But I still remember 2014 Claudio Bravo for Chile. I still think he was a very good goalkeeper.
Yes, sure.
Claudio Bravo is going to be my representative from Chile, and he's also going to be someone who I'm going to have in goal as well. So normally I don't go for a goalkeeper, but I need to show some respect and show Claudio Bravo, even though I'm a Manchester United fan, and I hated the fact he went to Manchester City and he wasn't one of Man City's best ever keepers. I have to show respect for what he did in that 2014 World Cup as well. And for the Copa America when they won it in 2016.
Back to back Copa Americas. And it's interesting that you touch on Chile because my next entry into the fold is the best player of the Emirates Stadium era.
Ooh, I'm glad you're going for him because I would never have gone for him.
It is my boy, Alexis Sanchez. Arsenal's dream signing, United's eventual nightmare signing. He was a wonder kid at Udinese. Then he went to Barcelona, and people like to say that he was a bench player at Barcelona, but as were many ultra world-class players. Let's not forget, Thiago Alcantara was a bench player at Barcelona, but that doesn't mean they weren't absolute world beaters. He came to Arsenal, and people like to think that Eden Hazard was, the big boy in town, but the period that Alexis was with us, particularly the first 2 seasons, I don't think anyone was touching the levels he was touching. And while he was touching those levels, just like Claudio Bravo, back-to-back Copa Americas, a sensational footballer, cup final goals against Man City, goals against Chelsea, goals against Liverpool. Despite what happened after, when he went to United, I don't blame him. He went for the big money. United have a habit of overpaying people and not getting the best out of them. So
our financial report states the same as well. So we're not in the best of times at the moment.
So I think he was amazing. And say what you want about him at Inter Milan, he won the Scudetto, and now he's got a sort of a second lease of life at Marseille as well. So Alexis Sanchez, for me, when you're talking about Chilean footballers or when you're talking about all-time South American greats, for me, Sanchez is always in that conversation.
Right. If you've got Alexis Sanchez in your team, and we know there's going to be a lot more attacking players coming from your side as well, Daniyal, I need to have a solid defender. I need to find someone who I think can actually kind of measure the game properly on a five-a-side pitch with some of these big ballers that we've got coming along as well.
Sure.
I'm going to Uruguay for this player. I'm going to go for. I need this guy in my team because there's a Uruguayan striker who you may end up picking, but he's a Liverpool player and he's a certified racist, so I don't want him in my team.
Okay.
I'm going for his captain. I'm going for his captain and someone who captained a big team in European football who was kind of like the catalyst, the figurehead of Diego Simeone's tenure. So I'm going for Diego Godin.
Oh man, do you know what he was when I was looking at Uruguay? He was so big on my list. He nearly made it, but he lost out to someone else. What a player! What a selection!
Diego Godin, he kind of epitomizes the comeuppance of Uruguay and Atletico Madrid at the same time because you had a proper bastion at the back. And I remember in that England versus Uruguay game, Rooney and Sturridge up front didn't get a sniff. Rooney scored an amazing tapping because he went to the far post, but Diego Godin kind of just marshaled our whole attack by himself with him. And I think Lugano was a centre-back partner as well. And it goes to show how bad people can be when they don't appreciate centre-backs from different countries, like in Spain or because it was that same summer as well. He got to the Champions League final, lost to Real Madrid, that Gareth Bale had a Ronaldo penalty, this, that, and the other. But he had a very good season in 2014, and I think he was there in 2018 as well. Diego Godin, one of the best centre-backs I've seen from Uruguay, probably one of the best defenders I've seen from Uruguay as well. And fair play to him. He's in my team, and the team's looking like it's full of ops now.
Listen, before I go on to mine, I do want to say Diego Godin is an unbelievable shout because he's not the Rolls-Royce defender that people talk about when they talk about Maldini or Ferdinand or whatever. But what he lacked in that kind of silkiness, what he lacked in that natural athleticism, he absolutely made up in not only tactical awareness, not only positioning, but like that mental big game energy. It didn't matter who he was coming up against. He was going to try and make the striker or the attacker play his game. And that's a huge strength. When you're Atletico, to what they did when they won the title on those both occasions, what they're up against, unbelievable. So that's a big shout. And I tell you what, my boys are going to have a problem because Godin's a bit of a monster. But if you're pulling up a Uruguayan monster, I'm pulling up a Uruguayan monster from the other end. I'm going to bring to you the 2010 World Cup Golden Ball winner.
Nah, man.
He's won the European Golden Shoe. He's got 128 goals in 240 La Liga appearances. He is the king of the Jabulani. It's Diego Forlan, my brother. I'm bringing it in.
You brought someone who I thought you were never going to pick. I thought you'd have gone for Cavani. I thought my subtle hint for Luis Suarez would have led you there, but you went for the guy that I wanted from up top with Diego Forlan.
Bringing him in. I'm bringing him in. When we're talking about a striker that is wrongly defined by one move in his career, you talk about when people, him and Veron didn't work at United and stuff like that, for whatever reason. And I guess you can attribute that to what Fergie wanted in a 4-4-2 system, what he was looking at from the fullbacks. Forlan is a lot more intelligent than that. And I think his time at Atletico, when they won the UEFA Cup, when they destroyed Fulham as well and they showed their class, leading into the World Cup, him and Suarez were doing an Olympics, like who can mash works the most. And that
they
was
sidemanned a young Cavani to the wing as well.
That is crazy.
That shows how sick he was.
That is crazy, and he was an absolute hitman. And he's managing in Uruguay as we speak. And my love for him went to the next level when shortly after stopping playing, he was a columnist in 442 magazine. So I always used to read like the columns, and then like I used to like wake up and go, "Fam, this is Diego Forlan." Like
this is right.
Diego Forlan is writing about football right now. And for me, if I'm talking five-a-side, if I'm talking someone that will be able to like dip the shoulder, if I'm talking about someone that's going to be able to pick out a bottom corner from a weird angle, if I'm talking about someone that's going to be able to link up play, Diego Forlan's my guy.
You've brought me no choice. I love Diego Forlan. He's one of my cult heroes at Man United, and a lot of Man United fans disagree with me, but because they're like, he just scored at Anfield. He didn't do more than that. He gave us a different type of striker than we had. We had Solskjaer, we had Van Nistelrooy at the time as well. Andy Cole just left at the time. So you're just kind of there thinking, this guy can bang it from 25, 30 yards, and he doesn't care. He may have a slow game. He may be a super sub at the time, like he was. It just goes to show that, like you said as well, Veron was a fantastic player at Parma, fantastic at Lazio. Didn't hit the ground running at Chelsea and Man United respectively, but he was a fantastic player to have in the team as well. And we're talking about someone that I kind of need to bring into the team. I could have left him till late, but I think you've got him on your list. So I'm going to play my cards early here. I'm showing my cards early. I'm going for my Brazilian pick. I'm going for someone who, if you have him in your team, I'll be surprised, but I won't be that surprised because the respect is due from this guy. I'm a big fan of him. He's one of those players that played against us in the Champions League, and you're just kind of there thinking, like, wow, I couldn't get angry as a kid. I couldn't. I think you know who it is. It's Kaká. Kaká's my midfielder.
Streets will never forget.
Streets will never forget. I've described him as Stardust before on a previous podcast as well, because he literally was. He could like walk on waterfall like Ed when we were watching him as well. And when you're seeing him in that 2002 squad saying that he did win the World Cup, I'm glad he did. He may not have been a big part of it, but I'm glad he got a World Cup to himself. 2006 is when we had the whole streets of Brazil all out for it. Every neutral was supporting Brazil because of that team. Kaká is someone who you would probably know as well from that viral clip just before lockdown, which is probably the case of when the world went to crap, when he was playing. Cut back, left foot banger. And then what's happening there? He scores. And you're just kind of there like, okay, cool, he's here for Adidas promotions. But my man wanted him to cut back. He is not cut back for anyone. He knew.
Brother, do you know who you're talking to, bro? And do you know what? Kaká in that kind of 05 to 08 stretch was simply unplayable. He was he was like this hybrid player that could pick up the ball deep, but he had the calmness of a number 10, but he also had that ruthlessness of a number 8. He loved controlling the tempo of a game, and he also liked starting moves and finishing them off. I think he is so silky, and you're never gonna forget that goal at Old Trafford.
Yeah, 100%.
He caused a car crash at the back.
Heinz and Everett just yeeted each other just like that.
And then not only did he do that, he sat, was it Van der Sar down? He sat Van der Sar down, bottom corner. You're not getting more silkier than that. The vest that said, I belong to Jesus, the celebration, the fact that he didn't leave Milan for City, even though all the way back then, before he moved to Madrid, City were ready to table a bid of 100 million euros. Like,
they wanted him to be the flagship player, not Robinho.
When Pogba became the 100 million pound player, we were like, wow, he's the first 100 million pound player or whatever like that. Bro, like 8 years before that, City were ready to drop those P's. And Kaká said, I'm staying in Milan. Obviously, maybe he doesn't enter a lot of people's conversations anymore because of his time at Madrid. But I think his time at Milan was so exceptional that it deserves all the accolades. As in, he showed us enough to show that he's one of the all-time greats. So big up yourself. It's very interesting how you keep choosing the same nationalities that I'm about to choose. Like, it literally feels staged. So we've gone for a Chilean, we're Chilean, we've gone for a Uruguayan, you've gone for a Brazilian. And
do you know what it is? It reminds me of when have you seen that bit in The Office where Steve Carell meets Ricky Gervais and they meet each other in the lift? It feels like that. And then next we're going to go for the same nationality, and we're going to finish on the same nationality as our wild card as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And just one more point on Kaká before we move on. Again, remember in 2007, Ballon d'Or winner, the last human Ballon d'Or winner before Messi and Ronaldo took over. And if you remember, or if you don't know, he had more than double the votes of Messi and Ronaldo. 1,047 votes compared to Messi's 507, Ronaldo's 426, which goes to show.
Crazy stat. And do you know what I love as well? I love how you specified that he was the last human winner, as opposed to like a fridge winning the Ballon d'Or.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it.
He was a fridge. He was ice cold. He was ice cold as a freezer. Kaká was ice cold on the pitch.
I love that. I love
good
that.
Work, good wordplay right there as well.
Listen, all out attack, baby.
Good. This is how we're going from now on.
Yeah, for me, when we're talking about what Kaká did for the game, I genuinely in my heart felt like this boy was gonna recreate that, not in the same position, but in terms of that young influence as a Brazilian Wonderkid. I thought he was gonna go right to the very top. He was at Milan with his best years as well. It's none other than one of my favorite strikers of all time, Alexander Pato. I'm going for Alexander Pato as a young boy at Milan in that great Milan team. I remember watching the Champions League at the new camp. It was AC Milan versus Barcelona. It's Milan in their white strip with their Fly Emirates on, and straight from kickoff, Pato gets sent through and scores the goal that silences the new camp. And for me, Alexander Pato is, if we're talking about streets we'll never forget, he is like one of the most symbolic players of that time, where when you hear that name Pato, you instantly think, damn, if only. Like, if only he stayed injury-free, if only his career had gone another way, because we would be talking about a player that, fine, wouldn't have won the Ballon d'Or because Messi and Ronaldo were about, but he would have been in that top 10 conversation every single time. And we talk about the tangent that Milan went on from 2012 up until now, when they've eventually won the Scudetto 10 years later. You can't help but think, what if Pato stayed at Milan? What if he stayed fit? What if he didn't fall off a tangent? Because he left in 2013. Who knows, man? Milan might have still been on top. Juve's dominance might never have resurfaced, and we'd still be talking about Pato as one of the great strikers. So for me, obviously, he's in Orlando now, enjoying his life, scoring in the MLS, chilling on the beach afterwards. But I love Pato for sure. I would love to meet him one day and just talk to him about his early days at Milan for sure. And also, if we're talking about this five-a-side team, I think that raw pace and that five-a-side bit, I think we've got Forlan like from deep, Pato blitzing everyone. I don't think Godin can handle Pato's pace. He might pull him down, he might scissor kick him or whatever, but I reckon Pato can handle it for sure. So Pato goes in on the right.
He's on his way of becoming a Maverick. That's all I can say as well. And it was just fantastic to kind of see how he kind of did it at AC Milan. And for Brazil, we wanted a bit more, like we said, 2010 World Cup, he was kind of like their main kind of striker. Him, Robinho in the squad as well. Joe was in the squad. Kaká was still there as well.
Fred, do you remember Fred?
Fred, big man Fred. I think, who's the other one? Luis Adriano, was he in the squad?
Oh, Luis Adriano. Yes, he was. The Shakhtar. Yeah.
I'm going to save Argentina until last because he is going to be my wild card on there as well. I'm going to go to Colombia now. So off to Colombia for my fourth choice. And I need someone, again, who had a short spell at the top as probably one of the better strikers that we've seen in world football. He's the all-time top goal scorer for his country. He's done so well. In fact, he was, fifth in the Ballon d'Or in 2012 as well. He was in that famous picture of just all La Liga players, and he was one of the few that wasn't at Barcelona and Real Madrid. And I have to go for the time when Radamel Falcao was one of the best strikers.
Oh, El Tigre, what a player. What a player.
Mixed feelings on him, but I'm not going to think about him at Man United and Chelsea. But I'm gonna appreciate what he did for Colombia, what he did for, like, Colombians nowadays, you see them everywhere in Europe, and it's mostly due to the fact that Falcao came in the modern age and made it kind of acceptable that you can go for a Colombian player. James Rodriguez, of course, another one as well that we can talk about, and Quadrado, even good servant for Juventus as well. But Radamel Falcao, 90 caps for Colombia, 35 goals as well, got them being a more prominent Colombian side in World Cups and in Copa Americas as well, actual threats in the team as well. And I also remember the fact that I think he was on that pitch where we were playing against him for England as well, and he was kind of there, like, he's still a nuisance to Maguire, to Walker, to Stones as well. Even that it was past his best, he was still a nuisance, he was still a threat. You know, he can score a goal out of anywhere as well, and that's what Radamel Falcao was about. And if you're needing that on a five-a-side pitch and you want to represent Colombia, I can't think of anyone better than Radamel Falcao.
Absolutely. I think for me, El Tigre is, there's a reason they call him a tiger, like the way he pounces on it. And I don't think his time in England reflects bad on him at all. I don't think it ruins his stock. Not only was he an unbelievable hitman for Colombia, but he also brought in other young Colombians, Jackson Martinez. He brought them into the fray, and he didn't stifle them almost like how Zlatan stifled Sweden. He kind of wanted Colombia to build, and he wanted to help them build apart from just being the main man. His time at Atletico speaks for itself. His time at Porto was unbelievable as well. When he was at Porto, I genuinely felt like, all right, the next move from Porto is either Barca or Madrid. When he went to Atleti at the time, Atleti weren't the global force that they are now. And I really felt like, wow.
Falcao replaced Forlan. That's what happened as well.
Yeah, he did.
Because Aguero left as well. Aguero is like Forlan, then Aguero, then Falcao entered.
Like, it's mad to think that then after Falcao left, who did they get in? They got Diego Costa, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got Diego Costa in. After Diego Costa, I think was the last.
Fernando Torres came back in as well.
Yeah, I'd say that was the last great striker they had. But damn, they had a run of crazy number 9s. Yeah, Falcao for me, what a stunning player. And yeah, even as late as 2017-18 in Mbappe's breakthrough Champions League year, you saw Falcao doing the dirt against Man City. So
against Claudio Bravo.
Yeah.
Caballero. It was one of them. Caballero or Bravo. I forgot which one it was.
Unbelievable. And what a player, man. What a player. Looking forward to playing against him with my team.
This is going to be so good. We need to like create this on FIFA or something like that as well. FIFA Street needs to be done. Right, your 4th pick, Daniyal. Are we going for Colombia or are we going elsewhere?
So this is actually my 5th pick. And then I thought, right, what am I missing? And to be fair, I'm not missing much. I've got some real serious workhorse energy from Alexis Sanchez, that ability to carry. He'd probably play at the back, kind of picking up the ball at 5-a-side.
Dribbling forward with it.
Yeah, we've got Forlan kind of playing deep and kind of keeping things ticking. We've got Pato getting the pace. But who is that one killer? Who's that one guy that can come from Newell's Old Boys, who can move to Boca Juniors, who can move to River Plate, so play for the 3 biggest clubs in South America, then move to Italy, and in the Champions League, slap Man United, slap Arsenal, win the Copa America, and be so good that they didn't even call him what they supposed to call him. They called him one thing, Batigol. So I'm going for Gabriel Batistuta, the absolute Argentinian hitman. That's my guy, bro. That's my guy. Fiorentina and Roma hitman. And listen, bro, listen. Also, for me, when you're talking about South American strikers, out and out number 9s, I think we're talking about a Hall of Fame player here.
And this is why I didn't do all time, because we could have easily gone for like the Messis, the Ronaldos, this type of thing. This is why we bring out people from the past who have made a big difference as well. So
and I think the fact is, Gabby actually doesn't get spoken about.
He doesn't get flowers as often as he should.
He doesn't, for what reason or another. And that's why I think, like, if you were in the streets, or if you had your ears to the streets as a footballer, whether you saw him or whether you didn't see him, you know that Gabigol was a goal machine. You knew he was a monster. If you're listening to this right now, pause it, go on YouTube, and type in Gabriel Batistuta goal versus Man United. Watch that goal. Once you've seen that goal, watch Gabriel Batistuta goal versus Arsenal. He takes Lee Dixon down the line, stands him up, cuts in, and at the most ridiculous angle, hits it in the far top corner. Like, we're talking about an absolute monster. And again, what I say is, if we're talking about streets we'll never forget the Fiorentina hitman for sure.
So I know you mentioned earlier about the goals that you scored, but a couple of stats here for us. 269 games for Fiorentina, 167 goals. For Roma, 63 appearances, 30 goals. And if we remember correctly, and I'm sure you'll remember, Daniyal, that was when Roma won the league, the last time they won the league, in that period when you had Totti and Batistuta.
2001?
2001, well done.
2001, yeah.
Nicely done. And obviously for Argentina as well, 78 appearances and 56 goals as well, which goes to show what we have.
When you're, at international level, I think people don't actually understand, the goal ratio that you have is not the same as the one you have at club level. So if you're world class over like 20 years, yeah, it's like 1 every 3, or if you're unbelievable, 1 every 2 goals. 1 goal every 2 games, or normally over a 20-year stretch, 1 goal every 3 games is sensational. At international level, it's more like 1 goal every 5 or 6 games. Or what, like that. That's just the way international football is. It's sporadic. You're not playing with each other as much. The systems are different. Different players are coming in and out. Sometimes you play against teams that are not there to play football. So it's a very stifled and staggered way of playing football. And then sometimes at tournaments as well, when you play, sometimes it's not free-flowing football. Like, everyone's nervous because they don't want to go home early. So for him to have that record at international level, I think we need to put that into context to realize how crazy that is. He did it in the league. He did it for the national team as well. Unbelievable.
Oh, no. But I have to say, you've done very, very well with your picks today. So I'm really happy with your team. I'm still unhappy that you picked Diego Forlan because he was my pick of striker. So I'm really glad I've got Radamel Falcao. I can't really compete with your strikers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to firm up my midfield a bit. And I'm going to go for a midfielder from Argentina, where we are going to as well. Because I know if I pick any striker above Batistuta, it will have to be Messi or Ronaldo. Sure. And I can't, no, Messi or Maradona, sorry. So I can't do that because that's not streets we'll never forget. That's called cheating and going for the best players that we've ever seen. So I need to go for a midfielder from Argentina who inspired me in a way because we never really saw this kind of player in England. So we would only ever see him. I've said this a few times before. I'd only ever see this kind of player on ITV in a Champions League game or every 4 years in a World Cup. So he was someone for me who I genuinely appreciated and I genuinely wanted to see a lot more from. When you got to watch them, they were a whole different character. And you're just kind of there like, this guy is just wow. I think he's probably now working as a vice president as Boca Juniors.
I really want to guess who this is. If we're talking about a midfielder, if we're talking about someone that you were like, Mamma Mia, this is amazing, an Argentinian. When you first said Argentina, I was like, ooh, is he going for Cambiasso? But then I realized, no, this is an all-time situation. So you must be going for the one, the Juan, Riquelme.
I'm going to call my wife now and say I found my soulmate. How did you do that? Juan Roman Riquelme is the guy. Because like I said, I can't go any higher from Argentina for strikers. I can't go for someone like Hernan Crespo because Hernan Crespo was a fantastic striker. But I needed someone who I need in my team. This is the kind of guy I love watching. And I would love watching him for Villarreal. I love watching him for Argentina, especially in that 2006 World Cup as well. I'm there looking at him thinking, you know what? This is something that I need to really talk to people about. And you know about him as well, which is the best thing possible.
I need to clap for that because Riquelme, that is a streets will never forget player. Riquelme, what a baller. And he almost was like a 9.5 or he was an 8.5. He wasn't quite an 8. He wasn't quite a 9. He wasn't quite a 10. He was a weird mix of all of them before that even really existed. Now there's all these false this and false that and this and a half. But Riquelme was, he was a goal scorer when he needed to be. He was a ball carrier when he needed to be. He was a tempo changer when he needed to be. And a proper maestro.
I need to explain it to our newer listeners as well. We first called our podcast Friday Night Trequartistas in terms of Trequartista being the false 9. And in my mind, when I first named it, I had Juan Roman Riquelme and Alessandro Del Piero as the kind of forefront of that name because not many people know what a Trequartista is. We then got some feedback saying, oh, we can't type Trequartistas. We don't know how to spell it, this, that, and the other. All right, cool. So we're Friday Night Counterattack to counterattack mental health, which is what we do anyway, which is fantastic through the love of football. But my love of football, I can't go for someone, like I said, like a Higuain or a Dybala or whoever. I have to go for someone who I love. Juan Roman Riquelme, I think he was also part of that Olympic side as well. I think Argentina got to the semi-final or they may have won the Olympics in 2004. So that was really good to see as well. He was a 20-year man in the game. So again, Boca Juniors, Barcelona, Villarreal, Boca Juniors as well, back again for a couple. I think it was after the World Cup in 2006, he went back to Boca Juniors as well.
Yeah.
It is like watching a ballerina. You would agree. You're watching someone who, again, could just slow the game down just from his thought process as well. You're seeing people like Paul Scholes talk about it in terms of how you can just manage a game by yourself if you have that intelligence. Riquelme and Kaká are in the same kind of team. That's intelligence personified.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I thought my team was like, yeah. He's not gonna have many responses, but shit. The balance in your team is
the balance.
The balance in your team is pretty concerning. I can't lie, because if my team decided to have an off day and just go all out attack, would just get picked off. Kaká and Riquelme in the same team, and then you've got Godin cleaning up.
Falcao up front, goal poacher. One little stat on Riquelme as well. He has the highest passing accuracy of any player in a World Cup. 99% against Serbia in 2006 in Germany. So he had 104 passes out of 105. So since 1966, when all of these kind of stats began, Juan Roman Riquelme, 99% passing accuracy.
That's insane.
On these full five-a-side pitches, on these favela streets, if we're on the high rise.
Can you imagine, bro? Can you imagine? Riquelme is definitely one of those ones. We'd have to put Sanchez on him. We'd say, Sanchez, listen, you're not playing as a mercurial winger. You're playing as that ball winner and that ball carrier. We're going to need you to be on him.
You're going to Alexis. We need that dog in you to come out.
Yeah. That dog.
That dog has to come out.
Yeah. For sure.
Needs to be done. But I think we've done extraordinary there, both of us, Daniyal and I. I think we've done fantastic to see.